You came out of a 4.5-year wandering retreat in the fall of 2015. And you had a near-death experience after only being on your retreat for about 3 weeks. Did the near-death experience sharpen or focus or in some way influence how you understood the whole beginning of the trip?
So, at the beginning, of course, I have this the notion of letting go. I learned this from my father, and I have no idea what will happen with my journey. Although I prepare a lot of, imagining I'm on the street, nothing, and I try to train myself to let go and look at those bakers, and but I have no idea what may happen. But then as I go to the journey, not so easy. So I felt like, I was quite naive to think about that. Special, the journey from Buddh Gaya to Varanasi, all this, I forget to calculate, not include that. So, shock. And then, of course, I practice my normal meditation. And then, especially what helps me is, bardo. Yes, this is like bardo. In this train, this crowd. And that helps me to begin to think about bardo. And I think that helps me to change the different direction, different perspective about all my practice, become kind of like letting go, let myself die, and try to really embrace with the fresh, the whatever present now. So 2 things, let go, but not just letting go. Once you're letting go, the fresh essence, the fresh yourself, and you see the fresh world there. So through that, I begin to form this particular experience practice. Then of course, later I went to Kushinagar and I have almost died. And that time I really focused about the death and dying meditation. And that really breakthrough really helps for me.
What does that mean, breakthrough? What did you break through?
So that has really helped me to break through. It's like I have to really let my old self die. And not just ideally, not just kind of like, I want to let die. Even physical body, I'm going to die. So to let go and be as, not so easy. But then somehow I did it. And then what I saw is death is not the end, actually. Even normally what we call grow the last breath, grow till last breath, learn until the last breath. Even after the breath, you can learn a lot. You will have great discovery within yourself. So the journey of dying for me is transformed into great journey, one of the best time in my life. So I was really, appreciate about this practice lineage. And then, of course, I learned this from my father, a lot of great other teachers. But before it's like story, But then after having this almost dying experience, then for me, these teachings really become alive, and I have a sense of great confidence.
Rinpoche, you grew up in a culture in which rebirth, reincarnation, reborn are very, very familiar. In our culture, none of that language is familiar. And when you talk, it sounds as if you have a strong sense of being reborn, it may be easier to let go. Otherwise, let go feels like physical death. There's no confidence that letting go will lead to rebirth. That actually it's happening whether we recognize it or not. But that we need to sort of come to much more deeper understanding of what it means to perhaps change our view of what it means to be reborn, have rebirth in this lifetime over and over and over again as a way of helping ourselves to let go.
Of course, I think if you believe about the what we call awareness, our mind, the real, when you try to pinpoint, when you recognize your mind, is what we call awareness. And what we call awareness never dies. So if you believe that, then of course more easy to let go, right? But I think for me, even you cannot understand about that, but just learning about the death and dying, and learning about death and dying, it helps for me to let go of my old self right now. Because what I call this fixed mind somehow is kind of like related with the death. If we don't face death and dying, then we hold this fixed mind. We don't know how to let go. So for me, learning death and dying helps right now to make you become more alive, become more meaningful living. And that continues, I think, until you almost stop the breath. You can learn a lot. Even after you stop breath, you still can learn a lot. Great adventure. So nowadays everybody like to have adventure, right? Why not have the best adventure after you stop your breath? And no regret.
Rinpoche, you referred earlier to the adventure, the journey of writing the book itself. Okay, in the beginning of the book, you talk a lot about the death of the roles. The abbot, the teacher, the lama, the tulku, and then you wandered for 4.5 years, and you came back, and once again you were the teacher and the lama and the abbot. So it was the same or different?
Yeah, so I let go teacher, abbot, the head of the monastery, head of the organization, and I come back again. But for me now, I'm not really fixing. Although I'm holding the title, but I don't feel same as like before. Before there's some kind of like aim and kind of like the good way is like care. But now I'm not the careless, but carefree. Deep level, walks out, great. Don't walk out, don't walk out, okay. In Tibet, we have one kind of like example. If everything goes right, milk become yogurt. If not goes right, milk become cheese. So anyway, it is a bardo. It's changing. So each in between, each gap has a lot of great things to learn, great things to grow. If you know, let go and how to flow the reality, how to be with the reality, let yourself die, be present with the bardo. I think a lot of everything is useful.
How does it actually manifest, this carefree but not careless? Does it take a form that it didn't have before?
After he come back, of course, there's a lot of problems there, different problems, right? The organization problem, monastic has problem, not the big problem, yes, but a lot of things I have to deal with that. But before, then my mind a little bit tight, okay, have to be right, and then this is the wrong, and there's the black and white. And I see the black clear, and I don't like the white. Now, almost like both has great different purpose, different benefit. And then it depends on you how you can make things happen, not necessarily to one way. if you not understand the bardo, then you will stuck with only one possibility.
So the way you're using bardo here is continuous change.
Continuous change, yes.
So that would be one, like the bardo teachings are about the continuity
Changing
of life and death.
The gap, especially the big one in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
up and down, changing. And then the great opportunity is the big gap during this moment. In between the big gap, meaning success or loss, in between the gap. So that's the bardo. So if we understand the bardo, it helps. What we mean bardo? Bardo meaning is intermediate, in between. So in our life, the greatest opportunity to know who you are, to explore, see the reality, is this gap, these moments. Like for me, when I leave monastery, my role, everything, and to start something completely new, in that moment, it's very precious. But of course, very scary. That gap become scary and the problem, or become solution and joyful. It depends on you, that you are accepting that. You are dealing the bardo. Consider that is the moment and have this instruction. Then you can transform it, that moment, to adventure, to grow yourself, to let go of the fixed mind, the all mind. So these moments are the glimpse that it really comes very near to you. I mean, these moments are the best opportunity to really yourself really become close to you. Because before that, there's layers. So, for example, let's say if there's bright light inside the house, and there's a window, wall, door, wall, another window. So the bardo from the window, then the wall is not the bardo. You are holding on your fixed mind. But then the wall is finished, then there's a crack. The crack of the window. That's the gap. And that crack, through that, you can connect with the light. That light is your true nature, who you are. And that moment, if you really want to transform something new of yourself, grow yourself, transform yourself, most easiest one.
Today you were doing exercises in the meditation hall, and they're all about interrupting the, quote, normal mind, the muttering mind. So is that the gap that you're talking about here? The interruption, like you talked about,
of the fixed,
sneezing, yawning, all of these interruptions.
Interruption. The normal mind is steady, and then there's a develop of this concept, layers after layers, the who we are, what should act, what the world is. There's a lot of pre-conceptual. How to break that? Of course, I want to break, not so easy. But when you're really facing the gap in your life, that is the most easy one to break that one. And to really connect with who you are, the genuine yourself.
So there are a lot of traditional ways of recognizing the gap in our ordinary life, like sneezing, yawning, stretching, all of these ways. What you did was a huge gap that you very deliberately arranged for. You orchestrated this enormous disruption. Is that helpful for the rest of us?
Yeah. I recommend, the one day you just go and no money, no nothing, and then I'm just kidding. I'm not, at the beginning, I didn't expect it like that way, I'm not expected I'm going to have this almost dying experience,
No, but you did arrange a huge interruption in your normal life.
Of course,
When you
I did
left.
that.
Yeah.
But in our everyday life, we have this plenty of opportunity. So you don't need to look out there. It's just there. You have to recognize it.
Yeah.
Especially when you are facing some challenge,
Yeah.
there's a gap there. Problem, there is gap. Unexpected things happen, there is a gap.
Yeah.
These are great opportunity.
Okay, good. Did your experience of almost dying every day, how did it affect how you think about your physical death now, or in your own preparations for physical dying? Is there a difference between dying every day and contemplating physical death?
So, for me, there's a difference between, of course, the physical death is really dying, and there's a lot of moment, the gaps, all these are also dying. But general, the experience is same. So, the most, normally, when we have the great fear, great confusion, insecure, feeling of insecure, feeling of kind of like lose meaning of life, all this comes when we are experiencing this, the moment, the gap in our life. So, when we die, same thing. We will feel this, and we will feel now, because that time actually we are dying whether you accept or not. But the important, if you let it die, then in fact it's not so bad. It is really great. You will learn more, you grow more, and you will really recognize who you are.
Jay, it's really great if you have faith in the rebirth.
Yeah, of course, if you have rebirth. But I mean, even you have doubt, it's also okay. Who knows? Just prepare this. I had this experience, and even the last breath, you can do something, right? How nice is it?